Hey everyone, welcome to day 4 of Mastering the Game of Allyship. Just wanted to give you a brief recap on everything that we've done so far. We introduced the 3-2-1 shadow process, witness, dialogue with, and integrate your personality part. And we've been specifically working on the character of the student self. This self is going to give you the foundation to be able to learn all the things that you think that you're going to need to do to become an ally. We also worked on the concept of making a true choice, making sure that everything that we're doing isn't coming out of any of those limiting beliefs that you don't belong, that you're not good enough, that you're imperfect, that you're not worthy, or that you're not ready. And we also introduced the 6 unpacking questions so that you could get a deep understanding of whatever part shows up into your awareness, what they want to create, how it's going to feel for them to get that, what their world is like right now, how does it feel to be there, what would have to be true for that to exist, and what reservations that they have. So right now you've got a very robust tool set already to start asking yourself, what's the next step that I can do? And then we also did work on establishing the 4 different roles that every character has to create a story, and specifically those different questions that you can ask those characters so that they can take the next step in their growth. And those 4 characters are the victim, the villain, the hero, and the guide. And the victims, we want to turn into heroes. Villains, we want to recognize their victimhood and then turn them into heroes. Heroes take the next step, and the guides tell the heroes what their next step is. So today we're going to dig just a little bit deeper into the student self. Yesterday's homework was to do a 3-2-1 on those aspects, and today we're going to talk about problem solving. So I personally am not a huge fan of the concept of problem solving. I do think that we sort of create our reality, and so in that aspect, every time that we're moving into a problem solving space, we are bringing that problem with us. But when we're doing parts work, specifically parts integration work, that belief that you're a co-creator of reality is actually a pretty well-developed belief. It's a highly developed idea, and that your different personality parts aren't necessarily going to have that within them. And so there's a series of questions that we can also ask in the dialogue phase of the 3-2-1s that can find any problem or any bit of resistance that's getting in the way of your character or your role moving into their next space. You can ask them this series of questions, which again, I'm going to put in the course material so that you can see them more specifically, but I'll just outline them here, how they work and why they work. But you can ask these questions to really get down to the bottom in a multidimensional way of the problem that's stopping that part from moving forward. And by the time that you add this to the entirety of the 3-2-1, you're going to have a powerful, unstoppable way to recognize what parts of you are getting in the way of you moving forward and how to address them. So the first question here is, what is the problem, or what is the resistance? This flows very nicely from that last question in the 6 unpacking questions of what reservations do you have around your problem. Usually that problem will be some sort of limiting belief or just something that's in your material world that makes it difficult for you to take the next step. So that's what that problem is. The next question is, how do you know that it's a problem? This invites us to ask ourselves, is this a problem that I've made up, or are there actual things in my life that I'm seeing that is letting me know that I have a problem? Many people don't take that step. Many people assume, I don't have any money, so I have a problem. Well, are you fed and do you have like a good life and is everything okay? Because that I'm not having money problem might be a means to an end that you don't even really care about, that you're not concerned with. So we always ask from the perspective of whatever part that we're talking for, how does this part know that they have a problem? The next question is, what is not a problem? And this is a very important question because sometimes we get so obsessed with our problems that we can't allow into our field of play the idea that maybe there's not a problem to be had, or that there's something that isn't sort of an issue. This goes back to our question about like money. It's like, well, if you've got food and shelter, having food and shelter is not a problem. Then the next question that we ask under that is, how do you know that that isn't a problem? And again, you have to then look into your reality and see like, okay, well, what would have to be true for this to be a problem for me? Well, I know that me having food isn't a problem because I'm not experiencing hunger, or that I do feel full, or that when I think about where my next meal is going to come from, I don't have stress. Whatever you need to do to answer that question, you just ask, what's not a problem. This fourth question is sort of the hinge. This really shifts the problem-solving conversation into someplace that's really useful. And this question is, what would you have to focus on to forget that you do not have this problem? So in the case, again, of I need money so that I can eat, if I am having money to eat, I would have to focus on the belief that I have to have money to be a good person, or to be worthy, or to be whatever it is that will make me feel okay, separate from the food. If I could focus on the fact that I have food, I don't have to worry about the money. Or if I focus that I have shelter, I don't have to worry about the money. But if I have a belief inside of myself that says, if you don't have money, you're bad, me focusing on that belief will make me forget that I don't have any of these other problems. And again, you can ask this question for any personality part, and it'll tell you what it's over focusing on, and that can sort of help us guide it into a direction that's going to be a little bit more useful. Next question is, what haven't I done to resolve the problem? This is a question that allows you to sort of think in possibilities. There's tons of things that you haven't done. There's always a larger set of things that you have not done than things that you have. And so by introducing that into your awareness, you get into that space of, okay, well, I've got a few options, and I don't know what would happen if I still decided that I needed money for some reason. Have I tried to get a job? Have I asked someone for money? Have I tried to add value to a situation? Have I let go of the belief that I need to have money? There's always a few options, and we always like to introduce options because whoever has the most options is more flexible, is more creative, and ultimately has more power. The ability to have money and give it away gives you more power than someone who doesn't have money, who's trying to get it. And that's really a meaningful definition of power, is the exercision of options. So the question after that is going to be, what is the cause of this problem? And by this point, you should be getting really at a level of depth that will show you, this is really what's going on here. For a lot of people, the not having money, the cause of the problem is societal pressure, or maybe it's family pressure, or maybe it's just going back to that limiting belief that, like, if you don't have money, you're not worthless. But this is where you start really getting at the bottom of what it is that's giving you this problem. And then ultimately the question after that is going to be like, what could you do to resolve the problem? And again, this could be, I can go get more money. I can use any of those tools of the things that I haven't done. But this is where you're going to start moving into actionable steps. And sometimes the actionable step is just letting go of the belief, letting go of the need altogether. The question after that is, when will you resolve the problem? And this one is really important, because if you don't have a game plan for when you're going to resolve this problem, it's just going to keep coming up. It's going to keep bothering you. It's going to keep taking that emotional energy. And like I mentioned before, the entire point of the 3-2-1 is to remove emotional energy. We want to move forward. Moving forward takes emotional energy, and pushing back against all of these internal conflicts takes up needless emotional energy that we could be using to become better allies. So this question will clear that up by putting a deadline on when we're going to solve it. As a cheat code, most of the problems that I do, the way that I resolve my problems when I do 3-2-1s is I choose to resolve the problem now. Even if it introduces a new problem of, I don't know how to take the next step, the problem of me not fully understanding my problem has gone away. So I just say, I choose to resolve this problem now. And the final question is, how do you know when this problem is resolved? In the case of money, it could be you'll know that the problem is resolved because the things that you need money for have shown up in your life. So you might not actually even need to get money, but if you've gotten the things that you need money for, everything is fine. If it turns out that you do need some very material things to show that the thing is taking place, that's something that's necessary. But sometimes a lot of the ways that you'll know the problem is resolved is that you'll just have a different feeling state. This is really important. There are 3 steps of the process where we really track our feelings about the problem. And if you know that you're moving towards a future where you want to have a certain feeling, and you can get to the bottom of knowing that you'll resolve your problem by getting that feeling, you'll know I've made progress. And you can chalk that up as a success, because at the very least, you've preserved emotional energy to be able to show up in the world more authentically. So your homework today is going to be to do just one 3-2-1 today on one more of the roles. Whichever role that you didn't do yesterday, we'll have you do a 3-2-1 on your student self, specifically incorporating all of these questions in the dialogue phase. So first you'll witness that student self. Again, see if you can add more detail to it. The more detailed you can get at that 3 phase, the more you'll be able to activate your subconscious mind to really give you the answers that you want. Then we'll go into the dialogue phase where you'll ask the 6 unpacking questions, and then you'll ask these problem-solving questions. Just go to all the way to the full depth for whatever problem arises for the part that you're working on. So again, this could be your victim, your villain, your hero, or your guide. Then, as always, we'll go into the 1 stage. You'll inhabit that perspective, having answered all of these questions, and really see how it feels to be this part, having had those questions answered. The hope is that you'll feel lighter. You might even feel lighter than your main self, knowing that you've been given that attention, that you have sort of resolved that problem. But more importantly, maybe you don't feel better. That's important information to have, because a lot of times we move around the world trying to solve problems, thinking that we've resolved them, but the part of us that had the problem doesn't agree. And if we can't get access to that information, we're going to spend a lot of emotional energy thinking that we've made progress when really we haven't done anything at all. So take the full 15 minutes today. Take as long as you need, but again, really try and shoot for 15 minutes in these first few times. Again, as you continue to do the process, it might become more fun, it might become more easy. Do however you want, but again, we're going to just keep focusing on that 15-minute segment. And sort of see what happens, and share your experiences in the Facebook group. This is definitely the time where you'll be able to start knowing that people have been having these experiences, having conversation about how your different student selves or your different roles show up as different from other people. Hearing other people's experiences will help your subconscious mind. It'll give yourself permission to be like, oh, I didn't think about things that way. I wonder what it would be like to show up that way. So highly recommend that for you. And then as an extra challenge, go ahead and try and do a 3-2-1, really just on any emotional problem that shows up in your life. It doesn't even need to be about allyship. But the extra challenge every day is going to be, see if you can do 2. The minimum is always going to be 1, but if you've got the time, if you've got the energy, or if you just got something in your field of awareness that you want to play around with, I will always challenge you to do another one. So that's the homework for today. I'll see you tomorrow.